Okay. We've done it 3 weeks in a row here. I think it's 3 weeks in a row. Wednesday has become Scott Walter Day. And
Mhm.
we just couldn't be more thrilled to have Scott back again to talk about what's happening in the world of Optimi.
Oh, Randy, I thought Wednesday was Prince Spaghetti Day.
It can be any day you want,
And don't
Scott.
worry, your demographic actually understands that reference.
Okay. Listen, I got some questions here. I've been
Mm.
watching this development. I've been listening to you. I've been listening to others. And the number one thing I'm hearing right now is, well, it seems to be able to walk okay. Doesn't need a tether. It's walking around fine. Some of the other versions, the figure and other ones are walking a little slower, but now the Tesla one seems to be walking along at a little faster clip. But you've mentioned, and others have mentioned, it needs to go faster. It needs to
Mhm.
walk faster. It needs to perform its job, whatever it is, faster. It needs to turn faster. So all I keep hearing is faster, faster, faster. So is that kind of the next big step, is for all of these things just to happen faster?
Yeah, you're beating me to my puns.
Oh,
I guess I'll have to, but yeah, they're taking strides to getting things a little bit faster right now. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, welcome back, Randy, to Wednesdays with Scott. I'm your host, Scott Walter. This is Randy Kirk. I invite him on to Randy's channel every Wednesday to talk all things robots. And last Wednesday is like ancient history because so much has happened since then. Because I thought, well, wait a minute, didn't we talk about this? It's like, oh no, wait a minute, we haven't. So, what a recap of what's happened since last Wednesday? And just a caution to everyone, this is being released on Wednesday. This is actually Tuesday night, so who knows what's going to happen in the next
yeah.
hours? So we may be still 7 days behind on whatever that next breaking news is going to be. But last Thursday, uh, Figure announced the closing of another round of funding for $675 million. That was sort of leaked to Bloomberg, to soon be followed up by a low resolution video from Elon showing the Optimus robot walking in the lab. This is different than the one that we saw a few weeks before. We'll get into the details about that. And then to be countered by another video from Figure, see what, yesterday or Sunday. I mean, I'm losing count. I think it was Sunday. They also showed the Figure bot doing what is like, a real factory task, getting ready for it. It's like not in the factory, but demonstrating that it's getting ready to do some task, albeit slow at this point. And admittedly, I mean, they give us some real numbers. And what's been rather exciting about this is that before we've seen the videos and we had to figure out what the performance of these bots were, how fast they were going. And so I
Right.
was kind of guessing, and we had to make sure whether it was 1x or 2x or what was there. And so the first thing I did when I saw that Saturday morning is like, and we were getting ready to go for a trip. And so I'm just like, oh, I just got minutes to put this thing together and look at, what can I tell about this? And it's like, I just wonder how fast Optimus is going. So for those who have not seen it, this time Optimus is fully clothed without the armor off, and rather than walking on a straight line, is walking what appears to be kind of like a figure eight in the lab, very open thing and very smooth. So not just walking straight, but doing curves to the left and to the right, not super tight, but still kind of tight enough, and showing that it has the capability to do that movement and do it very smoothly. I mean, it just really looks solid. Everything about it, full body integration, beautiful movement. But then the big question is, all right, how fast is it going? And the last time I estimated it as being about, I think, 0.46 meters per second.
Uh-huh.
And that was just based on, just doing some quick analysis and trying to figure a few things out, but no confirmation on that, what it was. And, before we'd known that Optimus was like up the Gen 2 bot, the first time we saw it walking was like, I think 30% faster than before.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, 30% faster. And it's like 30% faster than what?
Yeah.
We didn't really know what the what was because we didn't have any figures before. And some of the other Optimus videos they were kind of sped up, and when you get them to the right speed, you can kind of see it's like,
I
so
see.
it's
I
moving
see.
kind of slowly. But now when we're seeing the 1x, it's like, yeah, it looks like someone that's just going for a very leisurely walk. Not not slow, and like just a little bit past shuffling pace. And with a gait that's all right, but again, how fast it was. So the math behind it is very simple. The video was 78 seconds long because it said so on the bottom. Okay. You know, so it was like a minute 18 or something like that. It's like, okay, that's 78 seconds right there. And then the first thing is like count the steps. So I had to sit there and like, there's 131, 32, 132. Okay. 132 steps. In that amount of time, you do the math, 1.666666 off to infinity steps per second. Now, all you need to know is the step length. And if you know the step length, from that, you can kind of figure out, inches per second, or if you want feet per second. But you need to know what the step length is. And it's like the estimate is like, it's a little bit longer than one Optimus foot. And what's one Optimus foot? Is it 10 inches? Is it 12 inches? What foot size is it? They haven't told us. And so it was a little bit more. And so I was guesstimating that, it might be as high as 14 inches. So from that guess, I put in there, and then I converted it from freedom units to metric, and I got 0.6 meters per second.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's about a 30% improvement over the previous one. And so that's what I posted at about 7:30 a.m. on Saturday after I'd seen Elon's. Like, I put it out there and I showed exactly what the math was to go ahead and do it. And lo and behold, a few hours later, Milan replies, and actually this is after they put out the high resolution version, because for some reason Elon like put in was kind of like a cloaked version. It was like, this is low resolution as you can get. And the question is like, oh, are they hiding stuff? Or is he just got like a really lousy connection somewhere? And I'm going to get back to that in a second, the lousy connection he may have had. And so then we were able to look at it, and Milan, said it was 1x and everything else. And there's like a 30% improvement, and it's going 0.6 meters per second. And there's, nailed it, got it right. Okay. So my guess of 14 inches is about the step seems to be about right. And that's good. So ideally, we like it to go 1.2 meters per second. So it has to double the speed to be the same as what is typically the speed that a human would do on the factory floor. Yes, humans can walk faster than that when they're really busy, stuff like that. But when you're working, that's the expectation, 1.2 meters per second. You're carrying something about 1 meter a second. So that means, we're getting pretty close. They just have to be able to double the speed. But it's beautiful to watch. And the question is, what do they have to do to double the speed?
Yes.
Do they need just more power? Do they just need to crank it up? And is this a concern that, okay, we want to top it off at 500 watts, and, we're going to have to go maybe 750 or something like that to get to go faster, which may be more than they would like to have. So that's one way of doing it. Or it could be improvements in the gate, improvements in the software. I mean, it's already looking pretty good. It's looking end to end to me. And, the big question everyone has is like, how did they teach it? Because it just like was sort of walking around a course. And I'm just assuming they gave it some waypoints. It may have either been looking for some markers on the floor, but there's so much tape on the floor for all such a thing. It's like, don't read into what the tape is doing on the floor. It can be there for a variety of reasons. But it is very smooth. So it's not like it went up to a corner and stopped and then had to go somewhere else. It just was going around, going left and right and wandering, just looking natural. So it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, you look at that, it's probably some of the best walking I think I've seen of any humanoid bot.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you think, Atlas is still faster.
Yeah.
But Atlas looks more like a brute. I mean, Atlas is really, it's impressive what Atlas is doing and all that stuff. And Atlas is right now, Atlas is the benchmark as far as speed. None of them would come close to Atlas as far as the speed and the power and everything else. But as far as something that really is looking like a more natural human gait, Optimus is looking pretty good on the integration of getting there.
Now, would you think that if it went faster, that does it require a different methodology of balance, et cetera, if it's going?
It may be. And part of it is that, the legs, the knees are not perfectly straight yet. But then again, when we walk, our legs are not perfectly straight either. Everyone thinks, your knee. It's like, no, you don't. You do that and you're going to hyperextend your knee.
Sure.
So you always have a little bit of flex in it. So it's a little bit, but it can get maybe a little bit more, and it can open up its stride more. Mm-hmm. So there's two ways to do it. One is it can just be pitter-pattering a lot faster, just moving them faster.
Right.
But I think that's less efficient. What you want to do is get more of a pendulum motion. And it's hard to tell. Some people said that, they might be cheating, because if you look at the hip, it looks like it might almost be keeping the same level the whole way.
Oh.
And I'm going to try to look at it a little bit closer. It's hard to tell because the camera movement is going around. But one way, at least, like, if you're doing animation, it's like, okay, I'm going to take my body and I'm going to like move it along some spline. So I know where the CG is, and I'm just always going to keep it at the same height level.
Okay.
And once I know where the height level is, I just kind of figure what my legs might have to do to make the contact and stuff like that. And you get that illusion. And some think, oh, maybe they're doing the same cheat there. I don't think necessarily. I think what they can do is get maybe a little more bounce out of it. And part of that is going to mean that you're going to be willing to open up your stride a little bit to have the weight come down. And then you want to try to capture that energy a little bit and then spring it back up to get you up there. So there may be a bit more of a bounce out of it to get it going straight. But at the same time, you don't necessarily want to have to, because you don't want to be like, when you're carrying something, you would like to stay nice and steady. So
Now, yeah,
the real trick, and this is what my track coach used to always say, is that, if you want to sprint faster, we can work on getting your leg speed quicker, and they would work on that. But the most important thing they felt is to try to get a longer stride. So, the same number of repetitions per minute as you're running, but if you can get a bit more length out of that stride, that is where you're going to get more speed. And right now it's only a 14-inch stride. And think about it, when you walk, it's more than that. I think it's more like at least an 18-inch stride. I mean, yeah, well, not quite a yard, but
just
maybe
under.
a little bit. Yeah, it's just under when you're really striding on out there. So yeah, they should be able to get it at 18, maybe up to 24 inches as a stride. I mean, when you're running, it's going to be a lot more, but I'm just thinking when you're doing a really brisk walk, that probably would be the extent of where you go out there. So that'll help them do it. But when you get there, like I say, is like, now you get both legs out there, and you're going to have to really get the legs straight if you want to keep the center of mass up where it is, or it's going to drop down. I mean, it's very clear. You get both legs out, whoop, you're going to go down lower.
Do we have any sense yet, Scott, as to how long these kinds of iterations are taking them? We know that it was a 30% improvement since a couple of weeks ago, but do we know
2 weeks?
2 weeks?
These iterations are taking 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So
2 weeks.
In other words, if they said they were eventually potentially going to have a 5 mile an hour maximum.
I don't, well, that's the promise not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
It's not the promise. They're not promising it will go 5 miles per hour. Right. The promise was we won't go faster than 5 miles per hour. So, just in case the robot apocalypse comes, you can easily walk faster than it, or at least run away.
But if we look at, I think I may be completely wrong in this because I don't know what I'm talking about, but you and John both keep referring back to the graphics side of this and how to train or how to teach a animated object to do it. Are we looking at the same kind of problems? Is it about?
It's very different. In a graphic object, we don't have to deal with gravity. First of all,
yes, right, of course.
Our guys, they never fall down unless we really want them to.
Right.
And sometimes that's actually the problem in computer graphics, is that you need to turn the gravity to make things look realistic. So you don't have to deal with physics. It's animation, a lot of it, where there's really no simulation or physics in there. So you're doing pure kinematics to get the walking gait, and you're trying to do things. Sometimes you're using motion capture. Sometimes you're setting up your own little algorithm to get that. So it's kind of a convincing gait. But let's say it's not really working out what the distribution of the forces are, where the center of gravity is. You don't have a control system that's worrying about balance. It's like, it looks really good. Now what they're doing is they are simulating with full physics for sure, to try to figure it out, to tune up the control system, to test out the control system, to see what the gates are, to get an idea that if we want to get some speed improvements, what can we do? And they're concerned about a lot of things. First, they want to make sure it stays stable, that they have a decent static margin, so they're not right at the edge that it's just going to tip a little bit, so that it's there. They're probably trying to figure out, what are the potential stability issues they would have. And then they're probably looking at the predicted performance of all the motors to make sure they have adequate torque and that it's following through, and that they're not way off on that. So they can get a much better model, because the better the model you have, the better the control system can forecast what it is you want to do. And then eventually you need to work for different surfaces and stuff like that. Those that are going to be, different surface roughness and different pitch and angle and everything else, they'll be in there. So right now they just want to be able to probably walk on a nice flat surface very well, and just start slowly tuning it up and get a better idea, and making sure that's like, oh yeah, we can get to go fast, but we're going to have to go, 1500 watts, which is like 3 times higher than they would like to go, which means, an hour and a half, it's out. So they want to find some way to be able to do it. I have no idea whether it's at 500 watts now. I'm just like,
Right,
those
right.
are the questions I put in, but they don't answer me. I
No,
was, Milan, not now Milan, not Elon. Okay. The
right,
names sound
right.
the same. Hey,
Yes.
Milan Kovac is the head of the Optimus project. So he's running that. And it was like really nice that he put that information out there, but he wasn't replying to me. He was like,
Right.
"Oh, good question, Scott. Yes, it's like, nope." He only ever liked one thing of mine,
Okay.
and that was a snarky reply I made to the 1X post a few weeks ago about saying, when 1X said that their speed of their video was 1X, and I said, I wouldn't expect anything but 1X from 1X. Okay.
Next.
So it's my typical pun.
Yeah.
And then I get this thing that says, "Oh, Milan Kovic liked your post." And and I said, "Oh, wow, I guess he likes dad jokes." So so I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do from now on. So that's like the only time he's ever noticed any, and he probably had no idea who I am. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so if you're out there, Milan, or someone from there, it's like, yeah, I've got quite, those are the things that I'd like to know is like how far, how much more headroom they have as far as, motor torques and power consumption and everything else to be able to do it, where they are as far as like the balance. I assume they've done the pushover balance tests, but they're
Oh,
probably not going to show that.
right.
And
Right.
and we've talked to a couple of the other CEOs companies that are doing it, and they're like, we're not going to show those videos.
Oh, I
They
see. I
they're
see.
like, they're doing it, but they're like, no, we don't, they don't want it. And it's like, yeah, I agree. It's like at this point, why do you have to show it?
I
So they are definitely doing those tests just to make sure, but they're not going to go around sort of abusing the bots.
so being pushed over is one thing, but being juked is another thing, or juking somebody else. So if you're walking along in the
Mm-hmm.
factory and somebody
Mm-hmm.
comes along and you don't want to collide with them, you want to avoid colliding with them.
Mm-hmm.
That would seem to be a different kind of skill set.
Oh yeah, yeah, and of course we know FSD knows how to do that quite well.
Yes.
There's plenty of
Right.
examples of these dash cams of these Teslas, like
Avoid it.
preternaturally just avoiding it, and that the driver was doing absolutely nothing. They were probably just like,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and it's like, what just happened there? It's like, yeah, it just avoided a collision by, like you say, juking out of the way
Right.
really fast. So that will be there, and those are some of the things that you want to make sure that you can juke without falling over. So
Yeah.
they're probably going to, and eventually they're going to have an obstacle course where it's going to be going through, and they're going to be testing all that. Very much like what Atlas does. But
Yeah.
there's no need for them, crank it up to do parkour. It's just like you say, enough to make sure that if you get bumped by someone or someone's coming pretty close, you quickly get out of the way or it can stop. So I'm
So,
sure those are the next tests that are coming.
so is this all then the same thing when you get to arms, hands, wrists, fingers? I mean, is it just all a matter of iterating on moving a little faster, moving a little faster, moving a little more smoothly? Um,
Mhm.
is pretty much just what you just described.
Yes, and now the other thing is about the video is they had a pretty, quite a lot of runway there for the bot to move around. It seems to be the same area the previous video was in.
Okay.
And we were also able to see all the tables behind there where there's a lot of trainers back there, a lot of teleoperators and people around there working on tasks and working on something there. So it's like it's busy in there. And then there was like either a strategically placed curtain or a curtain that's just always there for whatever reason, making sure we can't see anything on whatever's
Yeah.
the other side. And who
Yes.
knows? Now we could see that there were a couple other Gen 2 bots that looked like they were in various states of assembly.
Hmm.
So I could really only see one that was definitely to get, and that was one that was walking, and the others looked like, well, they may be there having some testing and stuff like that, and a couple of Gen 1s. But I think, and this was hard at first, it was like really blurry. And then I was only seeing it on my cell phone. I can do much. And some people were counting, thinking that they saw maybe 8 or 9 bots, but it's not clear if they were seeing 8 or 9 Gen 2s, because I know there were still a lot of Gen 1s hanging around there. So a
Right.
couple others that were there. So they're starting to put them together, and they're going to need enough to start doing the testing. I know we've like beaten this drum many times, whether it's 100 or 1,000, we don't know, but they're going to need at least a couple of dozen to start doing some of the testing they want, and also to keep the teleoperators busy that they seem to be hiring and asking to bring in. So
Right.
yeah, no doubt about that. And
Okay.
and now the other thing I did say that it'll have something to do with like this thing right behind us here is my suspicion on why Elon's first post of that was so grainy, because it looked like it wasn't a problem with the cell phone that shot the video. but it was then probably sent over an SMS message, text message, or received by one.
Right.
And so, and it usually, when you send these things, it'll depend upon the telecom carrier and stuff like that, what they have to do, depending on your connection. And I think it was like almost the day before that, Elon put out a post. It was kind of hilarious. It just said, "This is a test," and
Yeah.
he got community noted on that, which I couldn't believe. It's like community noted. I mean, it was like, "Oh, it's not a test." It's like, come on. It's like, how do you? And I think the test, and then later on, he had another one and said, "This is, this text was sent via direct cell to Starlink."
Right.
So they finally tested that it's actually working, that from a cell phone you can do it. And because of the timing of that test and everything, and how bad that was, like, oh, maybe that's what it was, is that he had to cut the resolution down, or just kind of received really grainy, whatever, and then whatever, and put it in there. And then eventually the Optimus team put the full res one out there.
Yeah,
So it
because
wasn't because they were trying to hide stuff. It's just that, wherever Elon was at that time, he had spotty connection, or intentionally spotty connection.
Right. Yeah, because they have noted that it would have to, that it will be limited in terms of the amount of.
Yeah, it was supposed to be just texting, and they said that you may be able to do voice, and in some cases possibly video, but low quality. And so that could have been a potential test.
Yeah.
Again, I'm speculating like crazy. It probably has nothing to do with it, and I'm probably completely wrong. But I wouldn't be surprised, because I just noticed, I got another update on my I like to call over the satellite update, my dish, and I've noticed that there's some improvements in speed, and that the reliability has just been solid.
Nice.
We had some really heavy rain. Wish my roof was as solid and reliable as the Starlink, because it's like we had so much rain over this weekend, that it found a couple crevices, and the wind was just blowing in the right direction to kind of put it in there. But then I looked at my Starlink logs, and there's like no outages, and despite these really heavy downpours that were like over inch an hour kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I had earlier today, geez, I'm trying to remember, it's like so many. I was talking with someone, and he was at home with his AT&T fiber, and suddenly the team's meeting went down, and then like a few minutes he came back and said, "Yeah, my fiber was down." I'm like, "Yep, I was here the whole time." so it's like, wait a minute, I thought me with the satellite dish is supposed to be the one that's having the problem. So no, it has just been rock solid and getting better, and so it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. Have you been at all surprised that nobody has shown any of the robots yet, and that Tesla hasn't quite gone out yet with voice on the car, or voice in the robots? Why do you think that? It would seem like that would be a help to the folks who are trying to get it to work.
Some of them are already doing that. I mean, at least Figure demonstrated with the coffee demo that it was verbal instructions to go ahead and do it. And then I know Agility has done it, but with a large language model. I don't know if they've done it spoken, but at least they typed in probably. And the thing is when are you going to get an LLM that, combined with, an audio module that actually takes what she says and directly turns it into the language, or interprets it. So right now they have to convert that to text, and then the text to that. And then like sometimes the text gets converted wrong, as we all know, when we use it, that, you try to do a phone call and it always finds the wrong person in your phone book. And you're like, what? I mean, that's not even close. I'm saying it this way. So they might be concerned that you think you're giving a certain instruction and it ends up being something else. It has been kind of brought up that I'm trying to think who has talked to, that there are certain safeguards you want to go through to make sure that the instructions you give it fully understands. So either it has to say them back or make it very clear once to do, so there's no vagueness or misunderstanding, that it goes off and starts making like an infinite number of paper clips, that whole stuff.
Sure.
So it just wants to make sure that it's understands it right. And so right now, it could be that's a further optimization. It's like, don't worry, that's something we can put on top of it. We're not going to worry about it unless it's really holding up progress. And it may be that they're so busy with other things. And it could be that they're just waiting for the right version of Grok to come out, because Elon has hinted very strongly that Grok's going to end up in Optimus and in Tesla sometime
All
in the
right.
near term, whatever that is.
I'm going to. So you had another post this week about one of the other bots out there in the world. I think what are we up to? 15 or 16 companies that claim they are making some progress on some
Yeah.
version of humanoid. Okay.
Yes. So this is another video that came out of China. I think it may have come from the bot manufacturer, Ubisoft,
Yes, I think that, yeah.
showing it being used on the Neo production line. So I'm not sure whether they put it out or Neo, because Neo would probably see that as good public relations to show that, hey, we've got kind of a bot we're working with it here as well. So I think it was about a minute long video where they showed it doing various things. In many cases, it was tethered going down the line and doing very simple inspections. It was like checking that the seatbelt tensioner was right or something like that. Moving kind of slowly and maybe doing some other visual inspections, and then placing the basically, I don't know if you want to call it the hood ornament or the company logo right on the hood, doing a very simple kind of slow process, demonstrating what you could argue is kind of useful work. But I think this was more of a pilot, with the impression of a lot of people thought, oh, it's working in the factory already. It's like, no, it's not working in the factory already. I'm sure they're still just going through like everyone else and just doing some testing. But, a lot of people say, hey, we want to be the first to put it out there and claim, hey, we were the ones the first have it on a production line. I'm sure others have done this as well. But this is like a 1-second clip out of that. And it just kind of caught my eye that as we run it, if you look at the right arm, and yes, so that's the right arm over there. As that's running, you're going to notice one of the actuators there kind of spins at a fairly high velocity as it goes around there.
This must.
And yep, let's see if we can
This
remind.
doesn't seem to run. Is this a clip or?
Yeah, it should be a clip. It should be a 1-second clip. So you might have to restart it. It's paused right now. I don't have to restart the thing, but X is sometimes finicky that way. I don't know if you have to do a
Oh, here we
restart
go.
or
Here
just
we
kind of
go.
wait. Okay, this is going to go.
It's
Hopefully it.
We may
Yeah.
be the spinning the spinning
Yeah.
wheel forever here. Uh,
Yeah. Okay. So X,
okay.
sometimes you just have to refresh it because X is terrible in the videos. That a lot
Yeah.
of times you watch the video once and then it won't let you do it again.
Yeah.
So let's see. We come on down here and then we try once more, and we're going to be clipping this up.
Oh,
Okay. So
now it's
there
moving.
we go. So just leave it like that. Okay. So, and we're back after technical difficulties there, which had absolutely nothing to do with the satellite link or anything like that, but just Twitter not wanting to show the video. So if you look at the right arm, and you'll see one of the actuators there is rotating fairly quickly. Now, it's not rotating super quickly because the overall motion is pretty slow, but it's moving a lot of degrees there. And if you look at the left arm and you look at the same actuator, you notice it's not moving that much.
Oh.
And a lot of the reason it's not moving that much is because the position of the elbow. So they've got the elbow up in a very high position with the arm kind of straight out like that. And for us and our humans, it's not a problem because we have a ball and socket joint.
Mm-hmm.
But the way robots sort of fake a ball and socket joint is they have these serial actuators that are basically stacked together to create it. And it causes the same problem that you can have like with a gyroscope. If you've ever heard of the concept of gimbal lock, where as you move things around, you get two axes that line up and things will spin around really quickly.
I see.
So that's like an area you don't want to be around. Okay. Now, for most of us humans, like we kind of notice it's like, oh, our muscles get a little bit tight up around there, but it's not a mathematical problem for us. It's a real mathematical problem for the robots because you're entering an area that's known as like a singularity. In this case, is what they refer to as like the polar or shoulder singularity. And it's kind of a forbidden zone because what happens is that for a slight motion in one of the actuators, which is basically, if you look at the left arm, you can see the part that's going down. It's angled away from the shoulder joint that's coming straight out. And that's kind of like the second axis. Yeah. So it's the pin that's going through there. Because it's down very much. I mean, it's like at 60 degrees down. It's very far away. You're far enough away that you don't get a lot of movement in that shoulder joint. But when you bring it up close to zero or horizontal, it causes not only that, but potentially also the one downstream from that, the two joints, to have to move suddenly very quickly. So for a slight movement on one axis, the others have to suddenly work really, really hard. Even though if you look at the wrist and you look at the elbow, it looks like there's not a whole lot of movement going in there, but that shoulder joint is having to work really hard to keep that thing stationary. That's wasting power. It's also probably exceeding torque or speed limits there. So, you know, with industrial robots and stuff like that, you know, you try to avoid those things. And some cases of industrial arms, you've got no choice but to kind of go near there because that's just where your work is. So you'd either try to reposition your work or reposition your body. Now, as humans and as a humanoid bot, you can always find a more favorable position to work yourself. Because, you know, when you're working underneath the sink, sometimes, you know, you have no choice but to reach in there because you can't get your body anywhere else. But more than likely, you're going to position your body to the point where your arm is more comfortable being able to get in there.
Right.
But an industrial arm has 6 degrees of freedom because they're just trying to keep it to the bare minimum of what you would need. The human body has technically kind of like 7 degrees of freedom. And they've modeled these also. There is a 7th axis there. I double checked to say, wait a minute, is this 6th axis? No, they've got what's known as the elbow redundancy. The elbow redundancy means I can keep my hand right here in the same position. Now, if I was an industrial robot arm, if I was to now change my hand to a different position, I'd have to like change my whole body. Or if I was to change it fixed and I wanted to move my elbow in a different position, my whole hand would have to move. But I can hold it fixed and move my elbow around. That's what's known as the elbow redundancy because you have 3 joints up here. 3 degrees of freedom basically in your shoulder because a ball and socket joint gives it to you for free. So they've built the arm to do that. You've got the elbow redundancy, which means there is no reason for that elbow to be up so high. First of all, when you're operating, Randy, do you put your arms up like this? No, you don't. You put them down. There's no reason for that arm to be up so high. It's not like it's even going to come close to touching the hood. It should be down much lower. And if it's down much lower, you get away from it. So that tells me it's really poor path planning. And I don't think it doesn't look end to end. Most of the stuff to me, it looks like it's not heuristically done, or it's not end to end, and it's probably written heuristically. And it looks like, however they wrote it, they don't understand that, and they could have used the redundancy to get away from it. There's another thing they could have done, which I wish all of them would have done, and it's just mount your mechanism differently. So you notice that first axis, that yoke that kind of sticks out, that's coming in there. That's the first axis. It's going in that direction. Boom, just do this. Mount it on the shoulders up a little bit like that. And that means you can play in that region if you want to think about it, and you'll be far enough away from that singularity that problem won't happen.
I see.
And they're all making it horizontal. I think, you know, the original Tesla bot was that way. I think they may have made it about 7 degrees, which is like probably the low limit. I would prefer to be like 10 to 12 degrees at a minimum, maybe a little bit higher. A lot of the others have put it straight out. I'm trying to think if I've seen some that have mounted it a little bit differently, but just doing that will buy you a lot and get you away from it. So, and it's a minor thing. It's not like you have to redesign it. Ideally, the redesign is that those shoulders should be a ball and socket joint, but they're not. None of them are doing a ball and socket joint. Right. Why is that, Randy? Why are they not making them a ball and socket joint?
Because I don't think there's any way to use a ball and socket joint with actuators, right?
That's the problem. The ball and socket joint is really easy to make. I mean, your camera mount is a ball and socket joint. It's like one of the easiest joints to make mechanically. It's not that tough. What's hard is the actuation of it. It gets really tricky. So they've decided to go ahead and come up with another way, which is similar, but then you get, you know, really different behaviors.
Sure.
And where you kind of come in there that you will have those zones where you end up getting into the singularity and what I call like the basically it's sort of the event horizon of the shoulder, where you get a little bit spaghetti flat. Yeah, was it spaghettified as you approach the event horizon? So if you find my post, I kind of quickly go through and outline all that. So that's the long. It's if you go up, you'll see how I describe a lot of that. Yeah, right in there. Right. And so to talk about the polar singularity and how everything's there. And so, yeah, the singularity event horizon and, reason, what are the problems?
All right.
So, yeah, so there's basically no excuse for it to have been set up like that.
All right. So a few people have been asking on Figure, a couple of people, I wouldn't say it's a few, but there have been a couple of outspoken individuals that are worried that somehow Figure is not for real, that Figure is a scam designed to raise money, and there never will be a complete bot because they don't really have the skill sets necessary at the highest levels in that company to make that happen. My first response, my first thought before I let you go was they've had what, at least that we know of, 12, 14 companies that probably had to do due diligence, and that to the extent that they didn't do due diligence would be potentially uh, up against shareholder lawsuits and all kinds of things. But
unless you're General Motors.
Unless you're General Motors, yeah, somehow
right, right. It's it, you can fool maybe one, but it's a hard do a lot. It's like BMW chose them for the pilot by looking at it really closely, so that they were doing a certain amount of due diligence. We know there's another company that they're also doing a pilot with, which may or may not be one of the investors. You don't know. But you go through that whole list, and some of them, it was like investment arms, like Intel was one of the investors, but it wasn't like Intel directly. Intel has like a fund that does exactly that. They're going out and putting it in there. And that's their job. Their job is like, mergers and acquisitions, investments.
Right.
And they have like whole departments and everything that do that. So you're basically saying that they're all incompetent. Okay, maybe one of them is incompetent, but I have a hard time to believe there's like a dozen of them. And yes, okay, Jeff Bezos sold like an incredible amount of Amazon shares over the past couple of weeks. He's like raised like $8 billion.
Yeah.
He invested 100 billion in there
Of his own money.
No, sorry, 100 million, 100 million,
100 million
into Figure. So he's like the lead guy on this. He put in more than Microsoft, you can believe that. And okay, that's chump change for him. So I mean, he can't even buy a yacht for that much money. So it may not be a big deal for him. But I'm still pretty sure that even though he's probably raising 8 billion for, I'm assuming, for Blue Origin, something really capital intensive that he needs to do.
Yeah, of course.
But he's also looking at that, and he's probably doing it because he realizes, like everyone else, hey, this is a pretty big bot space, but you might say, like a lot of these billionaires, there's always this thing is like, they're like real tightwads and real cheapskates, and you wonder why. And the retort is always like, how do you think I got where I am? Not by being sloppy with my money. And there's no way Jeff Bezos is going to want to be said, hey, you can easily get this guy for $100 million because he didn't do his due diligence. He's being really lazy. No, he's hiring people. He's paying them very well to look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
LG was also one of their investment funds. Samsung was one of their funds. ARK Invest was in there. And then, Amazon, Apple, not Apple, sorry, OpenAI, Microsoft, they were doing it. So I'm pretty sure. And there was also a bunch of other venture capital funds that were also the ones that I think were already involved in it in early stage. I think was it Parkway or something like that? Because I think if I remember looking in there, they were also in like the Series A, the first one that was like 70 million. So they're people that looked at it that have been working on it for a while. I think they're pretty sure what's going on. They've checked out the track record of everyone that's on there. So I don't think it's like, it's very different than Nikola. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing,
Nikola was a GM needed a PR thing and they didn't do their work. Now, had, let's say, one of the investors been GM and SoftBank,
right,
I would say it's a fraud. Okay. Because if you look at SoftBank's track record, I wonder if they ever do any due diligence. Okay. But these other characters, no, they and NVIDIA was in there. Let's remember. So it's like there's so many, I'm losing track.
I know.
No. And Jensen is not someone that you fool that easily. No way.
My guess.
He knows what he's doing, and he's got his guys looking at it. And see, the thing is, all of them are part of this. They've been looking at it, and not just, hey, look at this came across our desk. Is this a good investment? No, they've actually been involved, giving them the technology and then doing all this. So they know what's going on, and there's a good chance they may because we'll have to see when they do the official announcement, because it get kind of laundered through Bloomberg. So there may have been, not all the information was there. So there may be others that decided at this point they prefer to be quiet about whether they have an investment or not. So you just have to wait and see. So there could be some other companies that are playing it low. It's like, we prefer to not until they have to make it part of an official public filing or something like that.
Yeah, and the other thing that came to mind was that my partner and I started a plastics manufacturing business. I have a undergrad in psych, a graduate degree in law. He had a master's degree in theology.
Mm-hmm.
We had absolutely no plastics manufacturing experience. We had no manufacturing experience. We had no plastics knowledge. Neither one of us had taken any real serious college level courses, even in chemistry. And we started a plastics manufacturing business that became the largest bicycle style water bottle manufacturer in the world, and also doing the best printing on those bottles in the world. And we had no background in that either. And so strange.
And now, how many people told you it couldn't be done?
And oh yeah, nobody thought we could do it. Oh, and by the way,
and who were the people that were telling you? It was all the experts, right?
Right. And we didn't have any engineers working for us at all. It was all
practical. You just went ahead and did it because you didn't know otherwise, that it wasn't possible. And sometimes being naive is good.
Yeah.
Now I saw a post today from someone that was kind of long, just being the contrarian view that says, okay, the whole humanoid bot space is it's all hype, it's ridiculous, stuff like that. And just going through it, and someone that seems to be in the space and going on, and I'm just looking at it and thinking, man, this sounds like it would have been something written by Bob Lutz or one of these other guys that's been around for like a long time and just doesn't see the change that's coming, and that this is how it was all done. And then I kind of looked at the profile. It's like, oh my God, it's like a fairly young guy. It's like, what are they teaching the universities? They get in there, and next thing you know, they're jaded and think, oh, this is how it is, and you can't do it anymore. So, and it was like, it just read and smelled like the point of view that coming from people who are involved more in the industrial robotic space.
I see. Yeah.
The traditional robotic space.
Can't be done.
And to me, I'm just like, oh my goodness, it just sounds like it would have been written by someone with the big three. And that you constantly have these people that are so close to the technology that they actually can't see what's coming.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you need a little bit of naivety. And so it's been drilled in. It's like, it's not possible. Sorry, son, you can't do that. And they end up believing that. And when I read it, it's like, with that attitude, you're right. The humanoid bot won't happen.
Yeah.
If that's your attitude, you're absolutely right. That it just sounds like, they'll never have the speed, they'll never have the utility, you'll never have this and that. And like, sure, if that's and you end up getting an echo chamber within those companies.
Right.
And so I'm sure right now, and you also have it's a little bit of self-preservation and also a little bit of hoping, almost like you're wishing a little bit of Schadenfreude. Like, oh, I hope these guys fail because, if they're successful, I'm out of a job or this is all. So it's like this wishful thinking that they don't want to see it succeed.
Right.
And they all have that mindset and they keep on telling it. And I was caught in that trap in Detroit in like 2015, 2016, maybe 2017. And when Tesla was trying to do the ramping on the Model N, it's like, Tesla doesn't want to, and it's just like these guys in California, they know nothing about building cars. And I was just inundated with all that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, they don't know what they're doing. And then I began to realize, oh, it's the mindset. It's like everyone in there just has that same point of view, and you've got to get out of that bubble to begin to realize. So after seeing that post, I said, oh, now I get it, because to me, it's been a big mystery. I was like, look who invested into Figure.
Yeah.
Bunch of chip manufacturers, bunch of AI companies, okay? A bunch of software companies, some end users.
Yeah.
But none of the traditional robot companies decided to get a piece, get a stake. And as far as I'm aware of, none of the traditional robot companies are even thinking of playing in that space or have their own skunk works or anything like that. And again, it's like the big three all over again. All the ICE companies is like, EVs, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
We're safe here. Fine. Just keep it going. It's like, why aren't you guys waking up to that? And I should be the old curmudgeon who's just saying, it's never going to happen. And it should be these whippersnappers that are coming out of the university. And to see like this young whippersnapper is like the one who is the most down on the whole idea and poo-pooing the whole thing. It's like, didn't they teach you anything? Haven't they taught you anything about S curves? I was like, look at that cell phone that you got in your hand. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
couldn't be done.
yeah. Yeah.
2 years, 2 years
look
before.
look at what happened. Look at what, so it's going to be done. And the other thing is that it seems like they're looking too much at the end because they're saying the hype. It's like, yeah, there's going to, actually, I don't think the problem is that it may be a lot of other influencers after that, and they're hyping it to the fact that it's like, oh, it's going to be our houses and doing all sorts of wonderful things. I've been maintaining all along. It's like, wait a minute.
Factory
someday that maybe happen. We don't know when it is, but it doesn't matter because it will have tons of utility before then in the factory.
Right.
Way before it gets in. It doesn't have to fold laundry, doesn't have to iron, doesn't have to do any chores around the house to be useful. And so if they're saying, well, that's the pipe dream, that's not going to happen. It's like, first of all, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime in your lifetime. You just think it's like 25, 30 years away or something like that. And so you're thinking, well, that's too long a time horizon to be useful. It's like, no. It's like, if you know anything about how the industrial robots are being used, and yes, the industrial robots are highly specialized for certain applications that they can actually do.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. And they're done that way because the humans couldn't really do it because there's like really heavy payload or very high precision. We've always need machines for it. We always need to do a certain amount of automation. Right. And we're not talking about that we're building a humanoid robot to replace those things. We're not doing that. We're talking about the humanoid robots replacing humans and doing human scale kind of things. And that there's, like I keep on saying, there's all this low hanging fruit out there that can be done. And again, it was just like, well, it's like, if it's automatable, we would have already done it, or we're doing it. It's just better to do it that way. And it's like, no, if it's so automatable, why haven't you done it yet? Because it's too costly. Or the other thing that really occurred to me is that there are a lot of operations that could be done on a factory floor that could be automated, and they're not automated. And you probably have also the same thing. You probably had some really expensive piece of equipment in your factory that only ran for like 1 hour a day and then would sit idle the rest of the day.
Sure. Everybody has that.
Yeah. And you're like, capital equipment sitting there unused. Yeah. So you're trying to figure out how to rent it out to some guy down the road who maybe also needs the parts that are coming out, because that thing is sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Okay. So there's all these operations that have to be done throughout the factory. That's like 10 minutes out of an entire shift, something has to be done over there. Some guy's got to go over and pick up a bunch of boxes and move them over to there.
Well, in fact, you've just given a perfect example. Typically in a factory, you might only be doing the final taping of boxes and putting on the labels for an hour or two a day, close to when UPS shows up.
Right.
And you're not using
and then there may be some other operation over there that's like 15 minutes and another one. And they're all a little bit different, but it's the same guy. You're keeping him busy for 8 hours, but never at the same place, going from here to there to there to there to there. Now, you could automate all those things, but first, that automation would probably be ridiculous.
And it costs you so much.
First, it has to be flexible, because a lot of times someone's just bringing a pallet and just dropping it somewhere. Yeah. So now if you're going to automate it, it's like, wow, we got to make sure when you drop the pallet, it drops it in a specific place, and we got to set that whole thing up, and we got to get that, and then it's got something else, and we get this big footprint and all this other stuff, and you're spending $100,000 for something that you're running 10 minutes a day, and then I need another thing over there, and another thing over there, and another thing, and next thing you know, you're spending millions of dollars to automate all these things that you only need for 10 minutes of the day. That's crazy. So the whole idea of the humanoid bot is it's deployable.
Yes.
All right. It's not deplorable. It's deployable. Okay. So what it does is it's able to walk. Oh my goodness. Optimus can actually walk. So it will strut on over there, and then it will just kind of stay there. And maybe it struts kind of slowly, it's like, but then it's right there, and it's starting to do this operations, and it's all done. And when it's done with that, it's told, hey, you're needed over here. Turn around, go on over there. So now you're able to automate it because you have something that's deployable and something's able to do it. And it's not having to do something at the high speed that your other automation equipment is. So, so every time you're doing it, you are doing return on investment. And the thing is, they haven't done it because the return on investment on automating those things is just not there yet. And now suddenly you get the capability to be able to do it. So it brings us to the last thing is like, the speed of Optimus and everything else in its walking, and that in most of the tasks that we're seeing, especially in these pick and place things, if you're going to be taking something off to a shelf and bring it over to conveyor and doing any kinds of part packing or anything like that, then a lot of times the movement of the bot is more about doing like a 180 than it is walking a long distance.
Right.
So you don't need to be very fast to go, 6 or 7 steps.
Right.
That's not important. What's important is that when you have what you have, that you're able to turn around, change your direction, and go somewhere else.
Right.
And the problem that, and we saw that clearly in the figure video, that is like it's lethargically slow turning around and having to do all these stutter steps to get it around and then start moving the same direction. And then it was also a little bit slow when they get up there deciding was in the final location. So those are like areas of improvement. And Optimus, I was glad to see that it was not walking straight, but actually doing something different, so we get an idea. But it's not like the quick 180.
Yeah.
All of them. I mean, even agility, it was like it's really slow the way it goes around, and that's where all the cycle time is getting gobbled up. So, and I think that's an easy place just to be able to like, okay, figure that thing out, figure out how to put that foot back, plant one, pivot on it, get around and go.
Right.
Because we know how to do that.
Sure.
And then the other will just be, better end-to-end training where they optimize the movements. So right now, when I look at the figure video, okay, it's end-to-end, but it seems like it's planning one move ahead in its chess game.
Yeah.
And the way to play chess is you want to look 3, 4, 5 moves ahead.
Yeah.
And so when you come in to pick up a tote, it's sort of the same thing, is that you shouldn't be thinking, oh, I walk up to the tote.
Right.
Then
right.
I examine the pile to figure out which one I want. Now I figure out how to grab the thing. And then after I grab the thing, okay, what am I doing with it now? No, you're planning the whole thing. That as you're walking there, you're deciding what your target is. You're going for your target. Before you even get your target, your hands are already extended out there. And right where there. So you're coming right on up, you got it. And then you figure out how to take the forward momentum you got and throw it into what you have to change your direction to get on over. And then when you get to drop it off on the conveyor, you don't go up there and come to a rest and drop it on down. It's like you just kind of go in and place it and come back. And those are all the things that they're going to learn.
Sure.
And when you get it right, because again, you do all that stuff, we're not falling over because we've known is like the inertia of these things sometimes to help us keep us from losing the balance, right? I'm leaning over, but I'm pushing like this and pushing like that is giving me the reaction, putting in there. And then, when I get on down there, if I get the final stability and then I'm off, and then I will spin around and go. So a lot of that cycle time, they will be able to get not by making the bot faster, but by making the bot smarter and learning to do the pirouette. So that's the next thing I want to see is I want to see a pirouette. If I see a pirouette, I don't care if it can't go a meter a second. Because for those short operations, that'll be fine.
Okay. And then the other big question that I keep asking everybody, and I haven't asked you yet, recently at least. So there's 2 schools of thought. One is that you should ship these bots as soon as you have a useful task that they can do. That is something that you can get people to pay you money for. Because why would you want to? Why would you not? If you have, let's say, my example that I use all the time is folding the T-shirts at a silk screen plant. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands and thousands of silk screen plants that could use the folding mechanism. And maybe the bot also has the capability, as you point out, to lay it on a drying conveyor belt as well. To lay a T-shirt on a drying conveyor belt so that it can get dry. So maybe it has both of those 2 capabilities. And that there's hundreds of thousands of available people to sell that to. Mm-hmm. Do you wait until the bot has 100 capabilities or 1,000 capabilities or can be easily trained? Or do you go not, and I know that there could be other nuances that we're not thinking through, but let's assume that that's just that decision. Do I wait until it can do way more things, or do I get it out there and get it being tested in the real world fast and start the income coming in?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling has been that you keep it in the factory for as long as you can because it's a nice structured environment where you can do the training and you have it under control and basically under wraps, and it's saving you money by doing that already. Now I do have a friend, Warren Redlich, who disagrees with me on that, and he makes a compelling case that they should use the analog of FSD, and that you get people to actually pay to give you the data that you so desperately need to train these things. And so it's like, okay, that's not a bad idea. That it does make sense in that it's a data problem, isn't it? And
Right.
that Tesla was really smart because Waymo and Cruise paid billions of dollars to get the data.
Yeah.
Okay. Tesla was really clever and they got people to pay them to
Right. A lot of money.
so they get the basically the data for free. So they made sure they got that. And if you look at all the LLM models that are out there, I mean, all that data came from basically them scraping the internet without people's permission. And now people are onto it, like the New York Times, the others say, we don't want you to do it. And now
Yeah.
Google is
Yeah.
paying what, how many, how much are they paying to Reddit for being able to scan their forums and stuff like that for the data? So everyone realizes, hey, our data's got value.
Right.
And that so if you're going to be training the stuff and if you're training it inside of Tesla, you're paying a lot of those people to do that.
Mhm.
And that's not income. I mean, that's outflow there to get the data that you want. And obviously you have to get it to some level that it's usable outside. And once it is kind of usable, and again, remember, the beta program is that there was like some scoring. It only went to certain people.
Yes. Well, I
So you
think
just don't give it to anyone. Someone basically, it's almost gonna be like a college application. You're gonna have to convince them that you are worthy of getting the Tesla bot. That you
you and
are.
I had this conversation, I think 8 months ago.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the
yeah,
first times we spoke was,
mm,
yeah, you put it up there and you go, okay, it's $100,000 a year if you want one
yeah,
of these babies.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so you better
yeah.
have a good application for it and send us your app, and
Yeah, but what? But
we'll see if you qualify.
Warren has like a slightly different twist to it. I mean, you and I are thinking it's like, well, yeah, we put it in some companies and we train it some of the things that go into companies. Warren's like, no, we're just bringing it home. Just
Just
like
right. No, I know. He's
we're not
always
taking the
said that.
Tesla FSD and just driving laps on the test track the whole time and training it that way. No, we're bringing out the real world, different cities and stuff like that. And he's just like, oh yeah, just have Optimus follow you around the whole day.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's just like a companion and gather the data that way. So I Warren's a bit of an oddball sometimes, but he does come up with some pretty good ideas. Okay. So it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, he's got a point. I don't know that that's actually what's going to happen, but I think it's kind of a valid thesis that you have to look at because it's all going to be about the data. And I think it's more of a question of timing, is that it may not be something that happens right away, but at some point you get to that and you might say, if we want to transition from the factory out to the real world, we need to have some robot minders or wranglers that are going to do it. And if they're going to pay us $100,000 a year to do it, we'll take the money.
And by the way, nobody can be first at this because we've got that
Yeah.
other company. I'm trying to remember their name right now. We have that other company with the I think it's got a female CEO or female
Sanctuary. Yeah. CTO. Yeah.
sanctuary.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they've already deployed them at the retail stores up in
Yeah.
Canada. So
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
had it. They've
So they
already
put them in there in pilots to get the
yeah,
data, to get the understanding. And so they want more and more of that stuff. And I'm sure it was like a pilot project with them and that I don't know, they may have been paid a nominal fee or maybe they weren't paid anything, but
right.
at least they didn't have to pay for the data.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
probably one of those kind of joint agreements. And so they're all doing the same thing is data is going to be king in this and being able to collect enough of it. And if you can get people providing the data for you, and especially when they're willingly doing it and willing hand, it does make sense. It's just a question of when they're up at that level that you can't put it out there before it's really ready.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when it is ready,
Are ready
they will do
enough.
that.
Ready enough. Yes. Yes.
Ready
Ready.
and yeah, when ready enough, ready, yeah, exactly. And so that's the whole thing with FSD beta is that it was
It was
ready enough
ready
that you
enough.
could put it in the hands of the right people who had good driving scores and which you were pretty sure were going to use it correctly and understood how to use it correctly and realize that it's a beta and there's going to be a lot of problems. And it'll be the same thing with Optimus. And just when they're comfortable that it's not going to keep falling over and breaking things and doing damage, and then suddenly lawsuits galore because Tesla knocked over the
Right.
the,
Right.
the bot knocked over the China cabinet, and
Exactly.
so,
Okay, Scott. All right. I think I've got my entire list. I've been able to ask all my questions,
wow.
and we are really grateful to have you come on and go through these questions each week and bring us up to date on the videos and stuff that is coming out because I think this is gonna be the fastest developing thing that we've seen in a very, very long, maybe faster developing even than this whole textual AI has been because
Mm-hmm.
we know again there's at least 15 16 companies now and each one of them is now somebody said today, I'm forgetting who said it, you said it, You said it's it's now a
Oh, okay. Basically
it's a
the
it's
rush
a
to
war.
build the world's first humanoid robot is an arms race.
It's an arms race. That's what you said.
Okay, and of course it's my bad
A
dad
little bit
joke
of
there.
pun. Yes,
Little
yes.
little bit of a pun,
A
and
little
some
bit of
people understood the pun. They said it's an arms and legs race, and like everything else. Some people took it a bit more dour because it is a types of arms
oh
race, but
yeah.
I didn't mean it in the militaristic
Military
term,
set.
but it's more in the economics arms race for sure because the companies or the countries that have this technology are going to dominate
Yes.
the rest of the century. There's
Absolutely.
no doubt about it. And
Because
so
by China,
it's a
Xi Jinping has said we have to be
yeah.
number one in this. He's devoting
Mhm, mhm.
billions of dollars to develop.
Yeah. He's yeah, and those companies are heeding the call and they're going on. That's why you're seeing so many startups over there that are able in short order come up with bots that are able to walk.
Right. Right.
And they're doing the pushover test, stuff like that. So they're taking that seriously and don't don't underestimate their ability because
Oh no.
the one thing China is doing is they're producing 10 times the number of engineers as we do every year. We produce more MBAs in this country than we do engineers.
Engineers.
Okay. And a lot of the engineering talent we have in this country is actually coming from outside this
Right.
country.
Oh yeah.
Brain drain.
Right.
And that's going to end after a while, especially when we're making it very difficult for people who are qualified to come over here. I personally have a couple of friends that it's just unbelievable what they have to do. People come in here and they are paying taxes and they are providing, they're smart, they're doing really great things. It's like, why aren't we welcoming more of these? Because eventually we're going to lose the talent war to these
Right.
other countries. And right now they like coming in. It's good that we're having them. That's helping, but it's hard when a country is producing 10 times that number.
Yeah.
And then you see the numbers that they can throw at these bot companies, and they're all figuring out how to get robots to walk pretty quickly.
Pretty fast. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. China is not sleeping on it.
No.
I would like to know where the Japanese are because the Japanese led the world in industrial
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are the Koreans? I
Again.
mean, Korea,
Again.
they
Yeah.
came up, they built a lot of cobots pretty quickly. They didn't have like a lot of the industrial robots early. They had a couple of companies working on, not much like Japan, but they also came out and now it's like, where are they on that? And then there's Europe.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, okay, we got 1X there and a couple others, the Swiss are doing something, but the Swiss, they're not the EU.
Yeah.
That's why Switzerland's they're an amazing country. Okay, for a little country, it's like they produce a lot. So
Yeah.
they're doing some good things over there in ETH, but the rest of Europe they're slumbering as usual. And they got to wake up because it's going to be a very important industry. And if we get something in the U.S., hopefully we don't make the mistake that we made before because you remember where the industrial robot came from. The first industrial robot was American made.
Oh, okay. And
And
then
no one listened. And no one
yeah.
listened to
Yeah.
Joe Engelberger and what he did, except people in Japan. They listened to him and they saw what he did. And then suddenly you had a lot of companies that were building robots. And then, all of the industrial robot companies left our shores. And all the bots that we're buying in the States are coming from Japan.
Right.
They're coming from Europe. They're coming from Korea. And there's like no native industrial robot company in the US. And we invented that technology.
But we will have one just very shortly.
So yeah, so now we have to, when this is developed, we've got to make sure that we realize the economic importance of it and maintaining it. And it's not something that we then just say, oh, that was like a fun exercise. We'll just give it away again. So let's see. Hopefully we're learning lessons.
All right, Scott. Again, I want to thank you for coming on, and we will see you in a week. And
Yeah.
to all of you out there, as always,
Mm-hmm.
it's been great talking to you.
And once again, I made sure to find some kind of tropical shirt in
Oh,
your honor.
and I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to write it
Next
down.
time.
All
Next
right.
time. Yeah. Okay.
Bye.